Hello, welcome. This is Sam of Sambookery, and today I have a tutorial for you guys to show you how to make this lapbook style junk journal cover using a file folder. To make this, I'm using my Grand Tour junk journal kit and add-on kit. These are printables available for purchase on my website, sambookery.com, but you can easily make this with any digitals or even scrapbook paper. Super simple and easy project. You don't need a lot of supplies for, and it's a fun interactive way to make a journal cover. So let's get started. So let me show you all the things I printed out, and I can tell you which ones to back and which not to, and whether to print on cardstock or just regular paper. I love using these little plastic folders with the snap to organize my different printables. They come in a couple different sizes. There's two sizes I like to use, and I did add this to my favorite supplies page that's on my website. There's also a link in the description to it in case you're getting to where you want to sort your different kit printables and have somewhere nice to store them. So here's what we printed out. This is a combination of the Grand Tour Junk Journal Kit and the add-on kit. I usually use them together when I'm putting together a journal. So let's see, this page here is word strips, tabs, and a couple fussy cuts just to fill in the bottom here. This one I printed on cardstock, but because these will be glued down, these are folded in half and glued together, I did not back this page. If you wanted to use these fussy cuts as a standalone piece to tuck into a pocket, you may want to back it if you want to have something on the back of these. I decided it wasn't worth it just for these two, so I'll go ahead and glue these down somewhere so I don't need to waste ink to print on the back of this one. Here are the cover and the lining of the journal. This I printed on cardstock, and the lining I printed on cardstock. The cardstock I use is 80-pound cardstock. It's a really nice one. That's the thickest one my printer can handle that I found. So I do have a link to this on my favorites list too if you're wanting to try out cardstock and you don't have a favorite yet. And these you do not need to back, just plain on the back. Then I printed out, I wasn't sure if I would use all of these or not, but they're so neutral, I can use these. I can cut them all out now, and I can use some of these on other journals in the future because they're not super specific to this kit. So I went ahead and printed the whole page of this on cardstock, no backing. And this is just various shaped labels. And then we've got some pockets. I believe the pockets from the add-on kit. You can make pockets out of anything, just cut a rectangle, but I wanted to make some fancier shaped ones for you guys as well. Pockets you don't ever need to back because they will be glued down and you won't see the other side of them. So I've got this set of pockets on cardstock. And we've got this set that's got like a tiny little notch. You can use a circle punch to punch this curve out if you want. Don't need to back those. And then here's one more style, and you can use the circle punch on this as well. Don't worry if it doesn't match this curve exactly, as long as you don't get any white left. Just have it come over onto the design. It doesn't have to match exactly, and it saves you from having to cut out if you have circle punches. So cardstock, no backing. These are just large cards. I haven't done these before, but I thought these would be great for large journaling cards. You can use them as flip outs in your journal or possibly as journal covers, like alternate journal covers. They're about like 5 by 6. So I printed these on cardstock as well, and because I do plan to like glue these down or make a journal cover out of them, or they're all the same size here. I've got 3 pages of them, so there's 6 of them. So, or I will put them back to back. So I didn't waste any ink and print anything on the back of any of these. And these are all on cardstock. Now, if you know what you're going to use them for and you want to just use a paper, like maybe tearing out bits of this for a collage, then just print it on regular paper. But because of the plans I have for this, I went ahead and put it on cardstock. Now we are getting into journaling cards. I do always back my journaling cards because they're loose in a pocket and I don't like to see just plain white on the back. So I just printed this ledger paper on the back just to give it some color. And this is on the 80-pound cardstock. Same for this one. This one, I just printed this all over design on the back. So when it's cut out, you'll just see a small section of it. It'll just give it some color and a pattern. Cardstock as well. Then we've got these postcards, printed those on cardstock. And I backed them with just this all over design. And then we have some windows. I first made these windows in the Brookview Manor kit. And those were really fun to do. I like that, you know, I like to do flip outs in a page, but it's even more fun. It's a flip out that you can see through. And you can do so many fun things with these windows. You can back them with something clear. You can back them with something translucent. You can put another printable image behind it, like one of these, maybe not these because these are kind of pastel, but you can put one of the like cityscapes behind the window. So anyway, here's the window, and because these two can be glued to a page, but these have tabs for flipping out, so you will see the back side. So I did print something on the back, and this is just an old catalog page for covered wagons. You won't see most of it, but on where the window frame is, I thought it'd be cool to see just a little bit of the words in the newsprint. You won't be able to tell much of what it is, but I thought it'd be an interesting texture on the back. So that's cardstock as well. These are specimen cards. Printed these on cardstock as well. And no need to back them because these fold together and these go back to back. And another set of journaling cards. And I backed this with this all over print on cardstock. Let's see. Oh, here is the sheet of tags. This is on cardstock as well. And I used this musical print on the back just to give it some interest. If you like to write on the back of yours, you can leave it plain or use that ledger paper. It's got lines, be easier for writing. This is the library cards. And these have the registration marks here where you can, so I would recommend making this cut first to cut them apart from each other before you cut them out, because this is a great guide to help you line up. So this I printed on cardstock as well, and I did back them with an all over print. This pocket, it's got some tags and a pocket that you assemble. So I printed this on cardstock as well, and I used this on the back. Here are the fussy cuts, cardstock. If you glue all your fussy cuts down, you don't need to back this. I like to have some of mine loose to be pulled in and out of pockets, and I may use these for a closure. So I went ahead and backed it just with the ledger paper. And we've got some square journaling cards. I've got 3 sheets of square journaling cards, and they're all on cardstock, and I back them with different things just for variety, but all neutral papers. It'd be easy to collage on top of or add something to. We've got some vertical journaling cards on cardstock, and I backed with the ledger paper. And now we are getting to the things printed on just regular printer paper. I use 32-pound paper. It's a little bit heavier than standard. I think standard's probably 24. And I really like this one. That one's linked on my favorites page as well. So let me show you all the journal pages. Let me move these. So I printed out all the journal pages from the junk journal kit and the extra ones from the add-on kit that were full bleed, not the ones that are sized to fit the journal covers, because I'm going to make this journal a little bit differently. So the full bleed ones I printed out, and I did back them all with something. So let me show you all of the pages. This one, and I did set my prints to borderless when I printed these out. If your printer doesn't do that, just trim off the white. There'll be like a small, maybe less than a 1/4 inch border, and you can just trim that off. Mine does a pretty good job with borderless. It doesn't make any ink smudges or anything, so if I can save time cutting, I will. So I picked a variety of backing pages. I wanted to have some neutral pages so that I can layer on the different ephemera onto a plain background, because sometimes I don't like to cover up the full image pages. We're going to be adding flips and all kinds of things in here. But I printed everything so you guys can see a variety. As always, I try to have several different styles of pages, so if there's one you like, just print that one out multiple times. These are also the backing papers. They are not set to be journal edges with this nice layered paper effect. They're just full page backing papers. I did that on a couple of them too, just so I can have like a lot of variety in the journal. And this one's just backing papers, both sides. So that is all of the printables. So I am gonna go ahead and cut out everything, let's see, everything that needs to be cut out. Let's see. If you have a corner rounder, my favorite one is listed in my favorites. It is this one. It's got a small, medium, and large. Those are handy to round the corners on here. If you don't, just curve your scissors around. But that's the only thing special here. We'll cut out all the straight edges and then go back and round the corners. Fussy cuts, I like to use these cutter bee scissors, or any smaller scissors are better for cutting like intricate fussy cuts out. This is size for a standard hole punch, so that's handy to have to punch out these holes if you want. You don't have to. A lot of times I also will just staple on like a folded piece of fabric or lace over this hole. You don't even see it, and it gives you a different variety to the tops of your tags. This you can kind of score it, like open your scissors and just score an X here so that you can get your scissors in, and then you can cut. I cut to all four corners, and then I cut out around the edge to cut those out of here. And we'll do the same for this window. If you have a cutting mat and X-Acto knife, you can do that as well, but it's just as easy to do with your scissors, I've found. Now, when you're scoring it, put something underneath so you don't cut through onto your nice table. So these regular, I don't think there's anything else special for cutting these out. If you have a paper trimmer, there's a lot of straight edges, so that will speed up the cutting. And then I already mentioned the corner rounder. So this is the only other that's kind of more fussy cutting, is these labels. If you are making the journal the standard way, which is linked in the tutorial that comes when you purchase the printables, there's several files. There's a welcome letter, and then there's assembly instruction tutorial with links to videos showing you how to put these together. If you're putting those together, don't trim off any of this white here. Leave the white on the cover if you're making it the traditional way. And here you want to do your scoring following these black marks before you cut the white off of here. And when you cut out these, I just put on a solid background so you can cut them as close to the text or cut a bigger border, just depending on where you're trying to fit it in your journal. And tabs, cut them out as a big rectangle. Don't do this fiddly bit yet. Fold them in half by scoring on this center here. And then while they're folded, cut out this shape. And that way they'll match exactly. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut all of these out, and I will come right back. I'm back and I have everything cut out. The covers, I just cut out that 1/2 inch spine and took that out. And I did the same to the cover lining, and I just tossed that part with the holes on it, because we just need the 2 panels. I did end up printing one other thing out. I printed on cardstock, single-sided, a neutral background print. We are going to be cutting this in half, and it's just basically a reinforcement for the journal we're making. And I did go ahead and fold all of my pages in half, and to make them lay nice and flat, once I folded them in half one direction, I opened it back up and folded them in the other direction and used my bone folder to set a nice crease, and that way the pages lay nice and flat. So I've got my 2 signatures here. Let's see, we'll do a flip through. Let me make sure all the pages are in the order I want and nothing is turned upside down. All right, so that looks okay. Try to alternate different things so it doesn't look too samey. And then I had an extra paper, so one of the signatures has 5 pages and one has 6. And I think that's totally fine. I didn't want to take one out and I didn't want to go print another one. So I think it'll work out fine. So there's the second signature. So we only need a few things to make this journal with this alternate method. Have your signatures ready. I'm doing 2. Have your cover panels and your lining panels. And then I'm using all of these cards as well. These were from the add-on kit. And then we'll want to cut this in half. And then you'll need a file folder. I will show you using this file folder how to make this cover. And it's going to be super easy. So let's grab a trimmer and let me cut this last paper out. I decided I wanted to cover up the words that are inside my file folder and just add a little stability to the journal. So I printed this out. So we'll just cut this at half at 5.5 inches. And then I will go ahead, and I was inking everything that I'm using on the cover with my vintage photo ink. So I'll go ahead and go around the edge here. And I will give you the exact measurements that I'm using. I'll go ahead and put them in the description as well for reference. But I just eyeballed it, most of these, to fit my journal pages. And I'm using the full 8.5 by 11 folded in half journal pages. So if yours are a different size, don't use these exact measurements. Kind of use your journal pages as a guide. Okay. So we'll set these aside. We don't need these yet. The first step is to grab your file folder, and we need to trim down the height. It's too tall for our journal. My pages are 8.5 inches tall, and I want to make my cover slightly bigger, so I'm going to cut it to 8 3/4 of an inch. So let's grab the trimmer. And I will just line this up to 8 3/4 here. Be careful you don't cut off the edge with the tab unless you don't want the tab on your journal. Now save this piece. We'll be using this as well, but just not right now. All right, and next we just need to do a few scoring marks. So open your folder up. We're going to ignore the creases in the fold that came in it. We're going to make some new ones. The first one we're going to do, and I like to start on the edge that doesn't have the tab. It's easier to line up. We're going to go over 5.5 inches. So here's the 5.5 inch line, and we're going to score here. And we're doing that because our journal pages are 5.5 inches, right? And then we want a 1/2 inch spine, so go over 1/2 inch to 6 and score here. And then we are going to want to go over 5 3/4 inches. So we're on 6 plus 5 is 11, and 11 3/4 is all the way to here. And then we just need to make the other 1/2 inch spine. So I'll just line this up and go over 1/2 inch. And I will put these measurements in the description. They only work if you're using the same size journal pages as I am, or if you don't mind that you're using smaller pages and you don't mind that there's a little extra room. When I designed this, I just eyeballed it. I just kind of folded it over and I was like, that looks good. And I marked where it was. And so that's how I got my measurements. And you can easily do that with whatever size journal pages you have. So let's go ahead and score on all these folds we just made. And you can decide what you want to be on the outside and the inside. I just wanted the words to be on the inside of the journal. It'd be easier for me to cover them up there. and then give it a nice crease on their lines with your bone folder. Okay, and so let's just do a little test fit here. Here's our pages. Our cover goes over like this, and then like this. So here's what we have. And that is our basic structure. So now let's start playing around with these and let's see what we can do. So because mine had all of these words in it, that's why I wanted to print these panels. And then also because the folder has this fold here naturally, it's gonna be a little weak. So I printed this cardstock out to add on the inside and the outside to kind of reinforce that so it won't have a fold there anymore. So let's glue that down. I've got some art glitter glue. You use whatever you have. And let's see. I just want to see how much space. So just kind of float it in the center of the panel between the folds here for the spine. So somewhere like that looks good. Okay. Maybe we'll put a little glue stick in the middle. Oops. Okay. And let's do the same to this side. I can see these are still going to be visible, but I do have an idea for that later with some tape. Okay, that reinforces the back now. Now what I was thinking is I would put the journal cover on here. And then in here, I would put the back of the journal cover. And then we use these inside here. These were the cover lining. Let's see, just this way. And then I was going to use these as flips. So to make these flips, you want to grab your leftover folder and we're going to cut off a 1-inch strip. So we can just grab this. And then you'll want to score this strip down the center. Let's open it up so that it'll only has to go through one layer. So we'll score on this 1/2-inch line here. And just flip it around. Okay. And these are going to become hinges for our flip outs. So just fold along the score line and give it a good press with your bone folder. And then open it up and fold it the opposite direction and press again. Okay. Now we just need to cut them down to the height of our cards. Mine are all the same height. So I'm just going to put a little mark here. I think we'll have 2 flips, so I will cut out 2 of these. Alrighty, so we want to do the flips before we glue these panels down because we can tuck this underneath the panel so it's not visible. So I've got some images here. Let's see. All right, I think I want, let's see what we have here. I'm going to want to put this one in the center here. So let's make, we're going to be putting these back to back. So let's do this. When this flips out here, then we'll have this that will be here, and then it will flip out this direction. So this edge is going to tuck under this panel. And then we are going to glue this one down and put this on here, and then glue this one on top. And that way, the hinge is hidden between these 2 layers, and it'll be hidden underneath this. I'm gonna cut it a little bit smaller because you don't want it sticking out the edges. There we go. All right, so I'll just try to center it on my panel, but it's your choice. If you want it up high or down low, you can put it wherever you want. And I'm not going to measure. If you like to measure, you can measure and put it exactly in the middle. I'm an eyeballer. All right, so about right there. And there you go. And that's the beginning. And then I know I want this one to be this way and this one here. So I'm going to go ahead and lay this front one where I want it to be. Let's see. And then I'll put glue on the tab here. And then just close it. And now we can put this one on here, and I'm just gonna be careful to line up these edges because I think that would be more noticeable if it was off rather than these edges. But we're gonna put glue around the whole thing. If you wanted to make this a secret pocket as well, make sure to not put glue on one of the sides. But if I was gonna do that, I would have double side printed these so that there wouldn't be plain white inside the pocket. So I won't do that, but just an option before you start gluing. If you want to have a pocket, leave one side open. Okay, and now we have this unit, right? It's got our panel with our flip. And that's why you want to reverse fold these when you make them so that the flip stays open and closed pretty nicely. All right, now we can attach this whole thing down by just putting glue on the back of this panel. Make sure you don't get it on your flip. And gluing it down. We do have to be careful because there's the notch here on the folder. Yeah, we just want to make sure, which actually isn't bad. You're only seeing the folder color behind it. So that, you know what? I might put it all the way to the edge. It doesn't look too bad. I don't really like that notch. So let's do that. And because these are wider than the background panel, if I put them over too far, you see it's covering up, it's getting into the spine area, and we don't want that. So I think I will go ahead and line this up with the outside edge here. So when you open the journal, one more flip. All right, let's glue this one down, and then we'll make the second unit. So this is more like a lap book style, but turned into a journal cover. And I'll just throw some glue stick on there for extra measure. Okay, so we're gonna line this up kind of centered top and bottom, and I was gonna do all the way to the edge. Oh, well, I shouldn't have put glue here, and let's slide that down. That will come off. And there we go. So there's our first flip. Let's do the same thing over here to this side. So here are my two images I'm going to put here. Or, you know, we've got, maybe I'll put her over there. I'll save this one. So just grab this. Let's make sure, yeah, let me just cut a tiny bit off. So I don't want it sticking out on the edge. So now we'll just attach this here to the edge of our panel. Press it down. Now let me check the width of these. We're gonna line this up with this edge. Oh yeah, plenty of room here. Okay. This one is going, oh, I did this wrong, you guys. That's fine. So we'll have the architecture on the inside and the girls, I mean the outside and the girls on the inside. So I will flip this one open here. And we'll put glue on this tab. And then we just need to line this one up in the corners here. It doesn't bother me like which image goes where. I mean, I'm just having fun. But if it bothers you, rip it apart and try again. Art glitter glue doesn't really allow for that. It dries and bonds almost instantly and it will tear your paper. So I've just learned to be happy with whatever I've done and not worry about it because I don't have to print everything and ink it and cut it again. And there's really no right or wrong in junk journaling. And I kind of like that better because this is an outside scene and that's a scene from inside the train car looking out. So it kind of makes more sense for it to be this way anyway. So happy accident. Now we are going to line this up with this edge here and glue it down just like the other side. Okay, so what we have so far is this. Let's go ahead and put our cover on. So I'm just gonna center this here. Let me open this up so we have a flatter surface. So I'm showing you guys like the basics and the assembly here, and I'll probably do another video of like decorating the journal, adding all of the ephemera, adding fun extras like lace and trim and charms and whatnot. I don't want this video to be too long. So we're just centering it, kind of eyeballing. Looks pretty good. All right, so far, now we've got that. We open it, got this flip. We need something here. That's where we're going to put this panel. And because this tab doesn't matter anymore because we filled it in behind, we can kind of just center this on the page and just ignore that like notch there. So that looks good. If you wanted to add more flips, you could totally do that behind this panel as well. Even on the journal cover if you wanted to add more. There's lots of file folder left over to make more hinges with. But I just want to give you guys a basic idea here. Looks good, and let's open it up so we can really press it down. Okay. Now this is, let's see, let me show you. And I guess you could, no, because the way we folded it, the tab sticks out and you want the tab on the outside. So here's our cover, flip, this one opens, flip, which you guys aren't even seeing. This opens so wide. And I've got a couple of these left. So why don't we do a top flip here? Because nothing's flipping on this center panel. So let's do a top flip. And here's the important part. Whenever you do a top flip, this one, you need to turn opposite direction from this one. All right? That'll be good. So how are we going to do this? I think we'll just use washi tape because I've already glued this down. If you didn't glue this down, do another hinge, which I will do a hinge, but let's see, I've got one. Here we go. Let's just cut this to size. But this part, we'll put it in between. And you'll want to have tucked it behind here. But I didn't. That's okay. So when you flip it, you'll have this. And I have got some great washi tapes I pulled out to use in this journal in different shades of green with some gold foil on them. So this will be a great place to use my washi tape and just cover that up. So let's do that. All right, so we're gonna glue this here. I'm doing it that, then let's do it this way. I love flips in a journal. I like them, the more interactive, the better. I think it's just like a fun sense of discovery. Pockets and flips and pullouts and all that fun stuff. All right, and so here's our top. And then on this side, this one is going in this direction. So let's put glue here. All right, and then we just need to glue the tab down. So we'll throw some glue on this side of it. And we'll just line it up, kind of center it towards the top here. All right, let's pick out a washi tape to put on here. And I get most of my washi tape from IB, and I will put a link to them in the description. Let me throw the code right on the screen. They gave me a code to give to you guys for 30% off anything you buy in their shop, as many times as you want to use the code. I am an affiliate of theirs, so I do get a small commission if you make a purchase, but I really love their stuff. They're sending me some more tape soon to use on my next kit that's coming up, which will be a woodland themed kit. Looking forward to that. All right, let's pick a tape out. I like this one. So let's use this one. They gave me some really great tape that went with my Brookview Manor kit a while back in like blues and golds that I really loved. I think I might have bought this tape. But their tape is great. I love it. Okay, I can't say 100% this was theirs. I have a lot of washi tape. But all of theirs is the best. I haven't had to add glue to theirs to keep it down. It just sticks. Like some washi tape peels right up when you use it in your journals. So far theirs has stuck really well. Okay. There we go. Let's do a quick flip of this journal. Let me try to clean up here. I make a mess when I journal. I don't know if you guys do too. Okay. Flip, 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 flip. Flip. Okay, so alternate method for making a junk journal cover for my kits. I just use the stuff that came in the kit and a file folder, and that's all you really needed. These are not in every kit. It's just the add-on kits. I put random things that I felt like making. So in the Grand Tour kit, I made these larger cards. There'll be something else you can use in the other kits. You can use large journaling cards, envelopes, whatever comes in the kit. So we got this, and we flip out on that side, flip out on this side, and then we flip up. Super fun. There's our cover. Now we just need to put in our journal pages, right? They're gonna go in here. So this is going to be your spine. And there's a million ways we can do this, but I think quick and easy, I'm just gonna do a 3-hole pamphlet stitch. The kit comes with the journal and the pages, a different set of pages with a 5-hole pamphlet stitch. But when I don't have a guide, I generally just do a 3-hole because it's quicker and easier. And it's easier for me to eyeball. So let me grab my bookbinding tools and let us go ahead and put these pages in and get this journal made today. So fast, so easy. Okay, to bind this together, I just grabbed some wax thread and awl, aka pokey tool, some clips to hold the signature pages together, and a needle. So when you cut your thread, we'll do, let's see, I want to put charms on this one. So we'll do 4 times the height. 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got some great like money themed charms that I've been wanting to use. I think this will be a great project for it, like coins and things. All right, let's thread our needle. All right, now, where are we going to put our holes? Let's decide. I'm going to clip my pages together here, just front and back. Just make sure they're nice and tight here in this, like the spine. And let's just eyeball where we want to do this. So eyeball the center first. Use your awl, and I just do a little twisting motion to come out. And then you'll want to come about 1 inch down from the top and the same distance up from the bottom. But again, measurement doesn't really matter. Okay, and now that we've got the 3 holes, poked in our first signature, we're going to use this to mark where we're going to put the holes in the second signature and in the cover. So I don't know if this pencil is going to show up on here. Let me do it on the inside. Yeah, that might be a little easier. So I just lay it here and I see where this hole is. And I'll just put a dot. Actually, you know what would be easier? Let's just do this. Trying to make things as easy as possible and no measuring. All right, let's clip the second signature together. Just lay this one together and this one. Go through the holes you already made and come out second signature. You just want to make sure you're holding them together and they don't move. It might be a good idea to clip the two signatures together if you're worried about them moving. We are good. Now we have both signatures done. The holes will match up perfectly. We need to put holes here in our cover. Remember, our cover is a little bit taller than our pages, so we want to center our pages top to bottom, right? Or if you don't want to do that, put them all the way to the bottom, because if you're going to stand up your journal, that's the edge that's going to be standing. And then we need to get double sets of dots, right? Because we have two signatures to stitch in, not just one. So first I like to get it centered and just mark basically where the holes need to be. And then you can, if you want to measure, this is a 1/2 inch. I'm not dividing a 1/2 inch into 3 sections because that's math. So what I'm just gonna do is say about right there, about right there. Just want them evenly spaced across the width of this 1/2 inch spine. Now let's poke a little hole. Now, if you want to cover up these words, now's a good time to do that. Let's just stick some washi tape on it. Oh, you know what? I've got this black one. Now, this is not from IB, but it's a wider tape, so I thought that might be nice. In here, and because there's such dark colors here, which aren't really found too much in the kit, I kind of wanted to add a little bit of darkness here. This is a nice vine, so let's go ahead and just add some washi tape here. There we go, and now we don't see it, but now we need to poke our holes again. So come around to the back side and poke your holes again. All right, we're ready to stitch in our signatures. I don't think I had, do I have a preference on which one was first? I'll put this one first, which means this one's second. So actually I usually start with the second one because it lays flat. Because when you do this, it's the bottom signature. All right, we've got our string. There's several ways you can do your charms. If you're doing charms, you can have the strings end on the outside, or you can have them end on the inside. I think I might add some, like something decorative tape or something to that spine later. So I'm gonna have my strings end on the inside. And then like my Egyptian journal I showed a few videos back, I leave the string long and I tie the charms and I let them come out the top of the journal and then hang over the spine here so that they're hanging out off the top edge of the journal. So I'll leave my string on the inside, so that means I'm going to start on the inside, center hole. And because we're doing charms, we want to leave this long, I think. And at the end of your charms, you're usually tying a knot, so you want to leave a good amount so that you have enough room to tie that knot as well. So I always say leave it longer than you think you need to. You can always cut it off, but you can't add more. All right, we're going in the right-hand hole in the center, out to the outside of the cover, and then kind of push your page back up. Watch out, because this guy tries to keep pulling through. All right, and then we'll go up to the top hole. We're gonna go in the top hole of the cover and in the top hole of the journal. And now we want to tighten things up so that there's no space here. Now we're going to skip the middle hole and go all the way to the bottom. And then we're going in the right-hand bottom hole from the cover. And now's where, if you have a long tail on your needle, you'll want to shorten it up because we're going on our last stitch here. So here's what we have so far. Now we're going to go back into the center hole. So center hole in the cover, center hole in the journal. When you come up in the journal, you want to be on the opposite side of this center string from your original starter string. So I usually put the needle up a tiny bit, I see what side it's on, and I move this center string to the opposite side. All right, now we are ready to tighten everything up. You have to be gentle with your paper because it can tear. You do want to pull until there's no slack. See, this is really loose, so we want to keep pulling that one. And I usually just pull up and down. Now we're tight. This is pretty tight. I'm going to give it one last pull, and then we're just tying a double knot here over this center string. And then here's our strings, plenty long enough to add charms later on. And that's our first signature in, and now we just do the same thing for the second one. But just so if you missed anything, I'll just do the same thing. We're going to do 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4 times the height of the journal. And any needle works. Blunt needles are actually better than sharp ones because you've already poked your holes. So like a tapestry needle is good. This one's got a bit of a point. I think it's a chenille needle. All right, so we're going from the inside of the journal through the middle hole, out. Make sure you leave a nice long string here. And we'll go in center of the cover to the outside. Oh, and that's where this gets pulled. All right, leave them nice and long. We'll go in the top hole here. And I don't try to go through the hole on the cover and the hole in the pages at the same time. That's too much. I do them one at a time. All right. And now we skip the middle, go to the bottom hole, go out through this bottom hole here to the outside of the cover. And now we just have 1 stitch left. We're going to go back in the middle hole here. And we will now we'll go in the center hole of the signature. And this is where you want to look and see. We want to be on this side of the center string. Don't need your needle anymore. Honestly, don't need your clips anymore either. Get everything out of the way, and now we want to pull gently and look and make sure nothing is super loose. And then 1 knot and a second knot. If you're not using wax thread, you're using embroidery floss, kitchen twine, you may want to put a dab of glue on the knot. The wax helps hold the knot tight so it doesn't come loose later. All right. And so we have nice long strings here for adding something. And that is our journal. We've made the journal. Now all that's left is decorating and writing in it or whatever you do in your journals. So here we go, all finished. Here's what the spine looks like. Just got 2 sets of long stitches here. Here's our back. And now, right now, look how nice and flat this is. But I've got this entire envelope of ephemera plus, you know, fabrics and lace and trim that I want to add into. So it may get pretty fat. And that's why I wanted this tab on the outside, because I figured I can add a closure to this tab. My journal starts getting a little fat to help me pull and wrap around to keep it closed. So that's a decision I'll make once I get the journal closer to being done. But that's reason why this one's on the top. I think it'd be great. We can either add a wide piece of ribbon here. We can put a grommet in here, set a grommet or an eyelet in here and tie something through there, like sari silk to wrap around it, something like that. But that's a decision for down the road. But whenever you make a journal, it's always a good idea to think about, how am I going to close this later? Because some things you can't add later on. So there we go. Here is our easy journal cover made from a file folder with multiple flips and 2 signatures. All right, you guys, I'm going to get decorating this and I will be back in another video to show you how this looks finished. But that's all for today. Thank you guys so much for stopping by, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.